My colleague
Senator
from
Arizona.
I want to thank my colleague from Ohio and others here from Florida and Iowa for coming together to talk about this important American issue and national security issue. I served 26 years in the military, and in my last years in service and since then, we have seen the threat of the rise of China. It's a threat to America's security, our jobs, and our role as a leader of the world. They are on a deliberate path to try to dominate the world and shape it into their vision, and they need to be stopped. When I was a cadet at the Air Force Academy, we had an honor code that said, "I will not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate among me anyone who does." Well, China has been lying, cheating, and stealing for far too long. Americans are now waking up to this threat and are resolved to change the trajectory and hold China accountable. But this can't be done by us alone. Our European partners and others in the Pacific and elsewhere need to join with us and also wake up to China's dangerous path and work with us to stop them. We've been calling this geostrategic shift a return to great power competition, as if to assume we're all playing by the same rules. We aren't. China's playing by their own rules and cheating the system for their own gain and power. The Chinese Communist Party is a reckless, predatory adversary, is dedicated to subverting U.S. interests and supplanting our nation as the world dominant leader. Over the past 10 years, China has increased their military spending by 85%. Their investment in defense has been used to build their Navy, expand their missile stockpile, and emerge as a leader in technologies like hypersonic, cyber, warfare, and artificial intelligence. This buildup has been far from defensive alone. From their illegal maritime claims among several sovereign states, then building artificial islands where they didn't exist before, and then militarizing them in the South China Sea with their maneuvers and exercises that are aggressive and belligerent, to their covert attempts to infiltrate the U.S. through our universities and stealing our technology. Chinese forces are expanding their tentacles far beyond their own borders to the detriment of American national security interests. Congress must do our part to respond to this threat. For these reasons, I introduced several pieces of legislation that immediately stop China from taking advantage of government funds and taxpayer dollars to purchase products and services from Chinese companies with ties to the Chinese military. To end our reliance on China's control over manufacturing of PPE, I introduced legislation to authorize the president to incentivize American companies to produce medical devices, equipment, and drugs. We saw in the onset of the coronavirus, it was very clear that outsourcing the production of PPE to an adversary was wrong and risky. And I witnessed firsthand the ingenuity of Arizona companies who stepped up to help fill the gap. But that's no excuse for ignoring the fact that we've got to bring manufacturing home, vital medical equipment, PPE, so once again, it's made in America. Finally, the coronavirus outbreak's taken a catastrophic toll on our country and the world. Make no mistake, the virus began in China, spread globally because the Chinese government lied about what they knew about it. They destroyed evidence, and they silenced doctors and whistleblowers. Like the rest of the nation, Arizona has suffered devastating consequences due to this pandemic. Already we've lost over 2,900 Arizonans, plus the economic toll. Communist China unleashed this virus on the world, and it should face severe repercussions for their cover-up and their lies about the origins and the spread. China's action cost lives and devastated the world economy. It must be held accountable. I moved to do just that this week by introducing the Civil Justice for Victims of COVID Act. Americans who have been victimized by the lies and deceit of the Chinese Communist Party, to include those who lost loved ones, suffered business losses, or were personally harmed, deserve the opportunity to hold China accountable and to demand just compensation. And I appreciate many of my colleagues joining with me on this legislation. It's due time we hold China accountable for their malevolent behavior, not just over the past several months, but over the past several decades. The United States must take immediate action and with strength demonstrate the greatest country in the world will not be taken for a fool. Our republic and our freedoms that it stands for will allow our country to prevail over China's communist and rogue agenda. With American will, American innovation, and the American spirit, we will prevail. And now I want to hand it over, or yield the floor, Mr. President. I appreciate my colleague from Florida joining as well.
Mr. President.